Hi, and thanks for stopping by again for another edition of Baking with Beth. Today we are going to be making some more cake pops for the summer. Let's get to it. Here. What are we making today? Quiet on set! We are going to start by making sure our butter is softened. If your butter is straight from the fridge, go ahead and put that in the microwave for about 5 seconds and just flip it around for 5 seconds until that is softened, because that is the most important part. We want to make sure the butter is softened. This is literally what I do. I stand here, I put it on, and I just take it out, flip it, put it back in. Another 5 seconds. Just wait for it a little bit. Flip it. This is the fast way to bake. Alternatively, you can just leave your butter out and let it soften at room temperature. You want the butter to not be melted. That's the main thing. You want to be able to see a fingerprint in your butter. Add our butter into our mixer and mix that on medium speed for just a minute or so. Now go ahead and open up your dry ingredients bag. We're gonna pour about half of the bag into the mixer and mix this on low. Don't mix it high because then all of the flour is gonna fly everywhere. So mix it on low. And we're gonna mix this until the butter is combined with the dry ingredients. Now we can go ahead and add some more of that dry ingredients. And keep doing the same thing until we're all finished with this bag. Include the rest of your dry ingredients and finish mixing this until they're all combined. Great, now go ahead and add your eggs. And mix again. Now your milk and vanilla. And voila! One important thing that I want to make sure you are doing is to scrape the sides of your bowl and your beater. So if you can see, all of this excess butter has stuck to my attachment here. I don't want that to stay on my attachment. I want that to be a part of the cake. So scrape that off as well as the sides of the bowl. Great. Good work. Now give that one more final mix and we'll be good to go. Perfect. Go ahead and clean off that attachment and we're going to pour this directly into our cake pan. Now I'm using a glass one here. Feel free to use whatever you want. It's not important what you're using because we are just going to be smashing this cake later. This fits well in a 9x9 square glass pan. Cinnamony. Now this goes in the oven at 350 for about 35 minutes. Our cake is finished. Once your toothpick is clean, then it's done. Go ahead and set this aside and let it cool, and then we'll go ahead and make our cake pops. Now we get to the fun part, creating your cake pops. I've included a parchment piece of paper so you can lay your cake pops on those once they are all done. You want to grab your marshmallow fluff, a small little bowl and spoon to crush your graham crackers, said graham crackers, your Hershey's bar, your cake, and your chocolate and cake pop sticks. One trick that I use while making my cake pops is I use a mug when I put my chocolate melts in here, because a mug is going to keep your chocolates warmer for longer rather than a regular cup or a bowl. Grab a nice microwave safe mug. Mine says, "Hello, gorgeous." Undo your chocolates and pour them in your mug. So these fit really nicely in this mug. Set that aside. The first thing we're gonna do is get our cake balls ready. Grab your cake and you're just gonna smash it. You're gonna smash it up as much as possible until you have no big pieces that are like chunky in there. Make sure your hands are clean. If you want to grab some gloves, feel free. I'm just gonna use my hands. Might as well, right? There we go. So just get in here and start smashing everything up. And you want to make sure you get all the sides. Pull up all the sides and the bottom of the cake. And just keep going until everything's very crumbly. All right, that looks pretty great. Here we have our crumb mixture. See how there are no big pieces. Next, we are going to add our marshmallow fluff. Grab a spoon, scoop it on in. We're gonna use this whole jar. Yep, you heard me, the whole jar. And just plop it on in and start mixing up. You can mix with your hands or your spoon. I always mix with my hands. So sometimes when I'm making cake pops, the amount of frosting that I use differs depending on the cake. What I would suggest is to use a small amount of your fluff. We're using fluff instead of buttercream. Usually I'll use a frosting, but today we're gonna do marshmallow fluff because there's some more cake pops. I would recommend to use a little bit at a time until your cake mixture can form balls that can be like held together. So that's the structure we want for our cake pops. I would recommend just grabbing a spoonful at a time and just keep adding until you get the texture you want. So what I'm doing, because this is so sticky, I'm kind of covering the fluff with the cake crumbs so I don't get it so sticky on my hands. And it's totally working really nicely. I'm just folding it in. This is our first fluff edition. It's a little more moist than initially, but as you can see, it doesn't keep its shape. It falls apart very easily. So we need to put more fluff in at this point. We have now put about 3/4 of the jar in our cake mixture. It's getting much better, but still falling apart a little bit, so we're gonna add more. Now we've put our entire jar in and it looks really great. So as you see, you can form a cake pop and roll it and it'll stay. And it does come apart, but I mean, it doesn't crumble, and that is what we want. Good job. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to melt our chocolates. You want to put this in your microwave for 1 minute, and then after that, stir it, and then keep putting it in for like 20-second intervals until it's ready. It should only take about one of the 20-second intervals, maybe two. And while those are cooking, we're gonna form our cake balls. I use a little scoop here. You can use a regular spoon, whatever suits your fancy. I like to use this just because it makes everything uniform. Grab a scoop of your cake, mold it in your hand, just back and forth, making sure that it's compact in there, and then give it a little roll to make it as much of a round ball as possible. Okay, there you go, you got it. Now grab your piece of parchment paper and just place it down there. We're gonna make 12 of these cake pops. You'll most likely have enough for more, but you only have graham crackers and melting chocolate enough for 12. So that's what we're gonna make today. Oh, these are gonna be so good. One of the tricks for cake pops that I like to tell people is to do your cake pops in this way. A lot of people go to the store and they buy those pans that you could bake your cake pop into. You would just be baking your cake into the shape of a ball and dipping that in chocolate. It's not as good. It's not as moist because you're not adding frosting, or in this case, marshmallow fluff. And it's just, in my opinion, not the way you want to do cake pops. This is the best way. Another common mistake that people make for their cake pops is they freeze them. But if you freeze your cake pops and don't let them thaw out before you dip them into chocolate, then the difference in temperature from the frozen cake pop to the melted chocolate will make your cake pops crack once they're starting to dry. Just don't freeze them. Just don't do it. Here are all of our cake pops. They're looking great. Now that we have our cake balls formed here and we've microwaved our chocolate, we are going to dipping the cake pop stick into the chocolate and then placing them onto each individual cake ball. Just ever so slightly at the tip. You just want to grab a little bit of chocolate because this is going to dry and harden. The chocolate will keep the cake pop onto the stick. Just going to dip a little bit here and place it on your cake pop. I always go pretty far down, even to the point where your stick touches the counter. You also want to make sure that your stick is facing directly up as much as possible. Just looks nicer that way. If uniformity is not your thing, then you don't have to worry about that. All right, now while we are waiting for the chocolate to dry on the sticks here, we're gonna go ahead and grab our graham crackers and crush them up into a small bowl. That way they'll be ready for us to dip later. Grab your graham crackers and smash them in this bag right here. And if there's larger chunks, you can just, squeeze those in between your fingers. And don't worry if it's not completely ground up. It'll look really cute on your cake pops, those larger pieces of graham cracker. So set that aside and grab your chocolate. So just go ahead and tear apart your Hershey's bar. And resist eating them because there's 12 exact pieces. The chocolate has set on the cake pops, and the way that you'll know is you can just feel the chocolate, and if it's hard, then it's ready. First, grab one of your cake pops. Just do a final check to make sure that the tops look good. Smooth anything out that you might want. And we're gonna do one initial dip into our chocolate. And you wanna have a spoon handy so you can scoop some of the chocolate on top of your cake pop when it's in the chocolate. And dip it on in. And using your spoon, just cover the top of your cake pop with chocolate and bring that out at an angle so it doesn't slide off the bottom. And now just gently tap while you're turning your cake pop while the excess chocolate slides off. Now you don't want to do too many taps because the fluff doesn't hold this together like a normal cake pop. So we need to be very gentle. Okay, now we're gonna dip this into our grams. Getting some on the edge. And then bring this back. And put your Hershey on top. Ta-da! I just do a little tap tap here while I'm rotating the cake pop. So you want to rotate it and tap it. Keep rotating and tapping. And you'll know that it's done when it stops dripping. And there you have your s'mores cake pop. Just let these sit until the chocolate is hardened and you can eat them whenever. That's it. Have a great summer. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's like you're eating some more. And then you get the chocolate in there. That's a good cake pop. Look at the inside. Cheers.